From being a medical doctor to an entrepreneur and now a venture capitalist, Dr. Ola Brown has worn many hats in the course of her career. She's practiced as a medical doctor, after which she founded Flying Doctors Nigeria and then Greentree Investment Company. Dr. Brown is currently a general partner of HealthCap Africa, which is an investment firm that focuses on early-stage investment in the health tech and fintech industries. And she's also an author who has published 5 books. On Tech Trends this week, she'll be sharing her thoughts about Africa's venture capital scene. Enjoy the chat.
A venture capital company is like a bank. We take money from customers, but we loan it out to start-up companies. And a bank typically would give loans that are expected to be paid back with a certain interest rate, while a venture capital firm uses the money from their customers to buy equity stakes in companies. So they don't pay it back in the same way as a loan. And a venture capital firm would take a share in that company and then look for a liquidity event to exit that equity stake.
There seems to be a lot of attention on the Africa venture capital scene. What makes it such a hotspot for investment right now?
Oh, absolutely. So Africa is the fastest growing population in the world in terms of demographics. It's also one of the fastest growing consumer markets in the world because the population is growing so quickly. And it's one of the fastest urbanizing regions of the world, meaning that there's a lot of movement from rural to more urban areas. It's also the world's youngest continent. So when you look at some states in America, for instance, some parts of Europe, the average age can be 50 or 60. The average age in Africa is 19. So people want to invest in markets that they see as dynamic. About 20 years ago, people saw that same sort of opportunity in China, where China has gone from being, not particularly influential on the global economic scene to the second biggest economy in the world. And people see that this rapid population growth, rapid urbanization, rapid mobile adoption as a trend that they saw in China before, so they've seen it before, and they know what comes next, which is, massive economic growth, and they want to be a part of that consumer growth story.
And in your opinion, and based on your wealth of experience, is the venture capital model working for African businesses?
I think it depends on your strict definition of the venture capital model. I think the venture capital model is a way of supporting fast-growing businesses with debt instead of with equity instead of debt. And we've already seen. Before HealthCap, I also ran a fund called Greentree Investments along with my partners. And we were able to, or we've already been able to give a 3x return to investors, which means that we're able to give back to investors 3 times the money that they gave us. You wouldn't really see that in a public equity market. Neither would you see that in a fixed income asset class. So I think the venture capital model is working in Africa. I think that there are nuances to it that you have to be aware of when picking the companies and when supporting the companies. But definitely there's no other asset class that gives those kind of returns.
Well, Dr. Brown, could there possibly be a downside to this big tech investment in Africa?
I think that investment and foreign direct investment is a big part of economic growth. So there are only really 4 levers to economic growth. You either get investment, you increase your exports, you increase your government spending, or you increase your consumption. Those are the only 4 ways to grow an economy. And I think that the idea of foreign direct investment coming into Africa, particularly into the technology sector, because we know that all of the businesses that we'll be running in the future, in the next 10 to 20 years, will be technology enabled or sort of technology centric. So they're growing, that the investments that are coming in are actually going into the future of business. So I think that, it's a very, very positive thing overall. I think the only thing that I'm quite sad about is the lack of participation of local investors, because most of the money coming in and actually comes in from abroad, and we're not seeing much local participation, or as much local participation as I'd like to see. So when those investments materialize and liquidate, then it will be investors taking home most of that money. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that, foreign direct investment is an important component of economic growth. But I'd love to see local investors that understand the terrain, that can also add value in their own way, investing in the technology sector more as well.
And what is that one thing you think people need to stop assuming about venture capital investment?
I think that people accept that fixed income, so investing in bonds and investing in mutual funds, for instance, is an asset class and requires a certain amount of expertise to do well. I also think that people are very familiar with the public markets in Nigeria, and when people invest in blue chip Nigerian stocks, I think people understand that this is a separate asset class, and there are experts that know how to pick the best stocks and are very good at investing on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I'm not sure that venture capital is as established as an asset class that people understand and see as a separate asset class with experts of its own. And I'd like to see more of that sort of recognition and establishment and understanding of venture capital as an asset class in the same sort of conversations that you see conversations about fixed income investment and public equity investment as well. I'd like to see venture capital coming up in those same conversations. And I think part of the reason to keep on doing these interviews and keep on speaking about it is to educate people about the venture capital asset class and its unique features.
Dr. Brown, you have had quite the career transition from flying doctors to green tree investment and now health cap. And I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot, but why the change?
So I think that everybody wants to sort of expand the number of assets that they're exposed to and wants to sort of expand their businesses and their business lines. I think, nobody really asked Dangote why he went from tomato to cement to refinery business. I think the answer is obvious, because he wants to expand the number of business lines that he's into and sort of diversify the sorts of businesses that he runs. And it's the same thing sort of with me. I love healthcare investing, and I wanted to sort of diversify my expertise in that and make sure that I had a number of companies and equity producing cash flow assets that I could invest in and sort of build with. I think also there's the impact as well of venture capital. Like I said, the future of almost every business in the world right now is going to have some form of technology and innovation. And that's an area where we all should be investing, regardless of the sector that we are in.
And finally, Dr. Brown, you have just released your 5th book titled Journey to Series A. First off, congratulations. But
thank you.
What's in it?
Okay, so I've been working in venture capital since 2015-16, and I felt like I was always answering the same questions to founders around raising capital and raising venture capital for their companies. So I decided to put a textbook together, which was probably the first, written by a Nigerian author, putting together all of my learnings and all of the advice that I typically give founders looking to raise venture capital for their technology businesses, including the importance of documenting their financial records, for instance, how to attract investors and how to court investors, some of the metrics that they should be paying attention to as their startup or business grows, how to involve the different teams in their organization, like sales and marketing, like HR, for example, in putting together a really good data room. And sort of I sum it up by saying that the journey to Series A really starts as soon as you start your company. And just to define Series A, the book is called Journey to Series A. And Series A is usually the first large bit of institutional capital that a company raises. And that's why I think it's such an important step in the life of any startup. It's a time when they become fully institutionalized and have large institutional investors in their business, and it's a really, really crucial step for the growth of the technology ecosystem in Nigeria and in Africa.
Well, that was a great conversation with you, Dr. Ola Brown, General Partner at HealthCap Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on Tech Trends.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Take care.